Good afternoon, welcome back to my channel, and this is going to be a VR to Generation Pixel. So recently he did a review on Final Fantasy 16, and I've only done a video like this before, and it was to heaps of games when he lambasted God of War Ragnarok. So I thought, I've sat on this video for a little while thinking, should I do it, should I not do it? And again, this video is just out of it's just a video reply to Generation Pixel. Obviously everyone has their own opinions and things, as Heaps had his opinions on God of War Ragnarok. Generation Pixel has got his opinions on Final Fantasy 16. And there's a lot of things going around. I see a lot of things on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, everywhere. I see it everywhere, like people complaining about Final Fantasy 16. And they're saying Final Fantasy 16 isn't a Final Fantasy, and it's just nonsense. It's absolutely nonsense. The whole the whole backlash Final Fantasy 16 is getting is insane. It's silly. It's so silly. To put that argument to bed, I could make this video very, very short and say Final Fantasy 16 is a Final Fantasy because it says it right there. It says it right there, and it says it right there. It's Final Fantasy. It's Final Fantasy through and through. I think what these people are trying to say is it doesn't have traditional Final Fantasy mechanics. So it doesn't have a party system, and it doesn't have like a world map and things like that. It doesn't have the traditional game mechanics of a Final Fantasy, like turn-based combat. And in my opinion, I think it's so much better for it. I couldn't imagine running around in Final Fantasy 16 and then for the game to stop, and then for you just to see Clive and Sid and Jill kind of like bobbing back and forward, waiting for the turn to strike. Do you know what I mean? It would just be stupid. It'd be so backwards. The way the game is, the way the combat is just absolutely perfect. It's absolutely fantastic. Like, it doesn't let up. You're just constantly. It keeps you in the action all the way through. And it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And the music in the game is top tier, absolutely top tier. I don't think there's been bad Final Fantasy music, and I don't think it's going to start with this. I think I personally think that the battle theme, just your regular run-of-the-mill battle theme, is absolutely brilliant. I think because who was it? Heaps released a short recently actually on what was it, the best battle music. It was Final Fantasy 7, and listen, that's very hard to top. This maybe probably doesn't do it, but I just think that it's close. It's up there with Final Fantasy 7's battle music. There's a lot of kind of orchestral music with a lot of sharp violins in there, and it's just fantastic. Like when you're fighting and you're using all your different combos and things like that, and the sharp violins hit, it's just so cool. You feel so immersed in the combat. It's brilliant. What else can we say about the story? Without going into spoilers, the storyline's brilliant, and again, it's very, very Final Fantasy. It's a story of an impending doom. It's a story of the Blight. The Blight's kind of taking over, but whilst all the Blight's kind of taking over and things like that, like, it still shows the inadequacies of mankind. Like, they're still battling each other and fighting for land and territory. When you really look at the bigger picture, the kind of bigger Final Fantasy picture, it's also irrelevant. Like, there's a much bigger threat than just two nations fighting each other for a bit of land and just for domination. It's brilliant, and obviously crystals play a main part in the game, which is a big Final Fantasy trope as well. Yeah, the story is just absolutely brilliant. And it all follows Clive and Clive's story, which kind of does break away from Final Fantasy traditional mechanics, because there is no party member. There is party members, but you don't control them. And again, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's fantastic that the director or the director's telling a story. The director wants you to go through a story. They want you to learn about Clive and about the world around him and about the people that he meets without bogging you down with other characters in your party to kind of manage. It's just you as Clive going through the story. And there's a lot of people as well that do claim that it's an easy game. I do think it is pretty easy. I don't think it's a very difficult game. But again, I don't hold that against it, because I think the way that the director wants you to play through the game, experience the game, and really get through it. And a point on that is, if you die, if you manage to die, because it is quite hard to die because it's quite easy, but if you do die, you get a choice to just restart the battle, or whatever it is. So you can restart the battle, and when you restart the battle at whichever point it is, if it's the start or the third of the way through, or halfway through, or whatever it is, you start again with full potions and full high potions. So that's just a kind of nod. I think that the director wants you to power on and get through the mission, get through the boss, to get to the next story beat, so you can see the story in its entirety. I could go on. There's so much you could say about it. Somebody, when I finished the game, I put up like a little kind of review on my Twitter. So it's only like, it's not a massive review. It's just a couple of words, the maximum kind of characters you can put on a Twitter post. And I just said how I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was fantastic. And somebody commented on it and said, "Yeah, smash that X button." Like, stupid. Like, I don't even know who it was. I don't know. But he didn't reply to me. When I replied to him, I just kind of said that you can smash the X button if you want. You won't get very far with jumping everywhere, because the X button's a jump button. It's not the attack button. This person's obviously jumping on the bandwagon of all these people that are saying that Final Fantasy 16 is rubbish, and it's really, really not. It's far from it. He's just jumping on the bandwagon, saying that all you do is press one button, the X button, which is the wrong button anyway. But the combat in the game, there's so much variation and combinations you can use. When I finished the game, I didn't use all the abilities, but I've recently went back to it and started doing some of the side quests. And I'm using a lot of the different abilities and things like that, all the different kind of powers. It's really cool. It's just fantastic. Once you master an ability, you can put it onto a different power. I don't want to go too much into it because it will kind of spoil the kind of things that you get further in the game. But again, there's a lot of people out there like slating the side missions, which I completely get. Like, side missions are just side missions, and like a lot of them don't. There's not many games where you play a side mission where they're meaningful and things like that. And there's a lot of meaningless side missions in this one, but they're not all meaningless, and especially when you get further on in the game, or even towards at the end game, you go on side missions for different characters within your settlement, your hideaway, sorry, and that really opens up their character history and their character profile. So you find out more and more about these people. So there's a wee shopkeeper called Karen, and there's a mission with her called An Eye for an Eye, and it's just brilliant. Like, it's so cool. Like, you find out what she is really all about, and where she came from, and how she became the trader in the hideaway. And it's just so cool. It's just so cool. There's a lot of story. There's a lot of story beats around the game that centre around Sid, and Sid as a character was fantastic, absolutely brilliant. Probably the best Sid in any Final Fantasy game. He was just brilliant. He was just class. And again, with Clive, he is arguably the best protagonist in a Final Fantasy. There's not many Final Fantasies that have really good protagonists. I mean, you got Cloud. Cloud was fantastic. Final Fantasy 7 will always be my favourite Final Fantasy game, forevermore, mostly because of the nostalgia. But as well, the story in that game is fantastic as well, and it just keeps on giving. Everything I play, I just love Final Fantasy 7. But I'm not here to compare Final Fantasy 7 with Final Fantasy 16 because they're completely different games. But yeah, I went off a wee tangent there. I can't remember where I was. But Final Fantasy 16, absolutely fantastic. Like I said, I've seen a lot of people like really slating it, and I don't think it deserves the hate it's getting. it's a very divisive game. There's a lot of people that hate it, a lot of people that love it, and I'm definitely on the side of loving it. It's definitely my game of the year, and to explain that as well, like I've not played every game this year. Obviously, I've not played Tears of the Kingdom. I've not played Resident Evil 4. Starfield's not out yet. I think these are the kind of like the main ones that are going to go for game of the year. And the reason why Final Fantasy 16's game of the year for me is with Resident Evil 4, the remake. I think obviously that game's been done before and it's obviously remade, and I'm sure it's absolutely fantastic, and I do really want to play that. But I just think Final Fantasy 16 has got that edge because it's new, it's fresh, it's fantastic. With Tears of the Kingdom, again, I didn't like Breath of the Wild. I just thought it was just too loose. Like, there was nothing tight in it. It didn't feel like I was playing an adventure game as such, because I just felt like you just kept on getting lost, and it wasn't for me. So when I seen Tears of the Kingdom, it's just not for me. I don't like those open world games. I remember one time my friend, massive Nintendo fan, he showed me Breath of the Wild, and he was like, "Oh, this game's fantastic, better than Last of Us, better than this, better than that." Ah, alright, cool. So showing me what was good about it, and he just showed me his game, and he was like, he showed me on the screen, he was like, see that hill over there? I was like, aye. He said, you can go over there. I was like, oh cool, aye, cool, what's over there? And he went, nothing, like, nothing. Like, I don't get it, I don't get open world games, they just kind of bore me. And that's the thing with Final Fantasy 16, I think, like I was saying earlier about the director giving you a purpose and giving you a storyline to go for. A lot of people call it linear, which is absolutely fine. It is a linear story. You're going towards that goal, and I love that. I love being taken on that journey, and I love seeing what the director wants me to see, and I love being shown every kind of bit, every kind of a story beat that the director and the team behind Final Fantasy want to show me. And whether it's Final Fantasy or not, I just like that direction. I like to be pushed through a game and to see everything that they want you to see, and it's fun. I mean, recently I finished Quantum Break, completely different game, but in the same kind of sense. I like the kind of the storyline. I like the kind of blockbuster kind of feel to it. I like that you're playing a game, and every time you play it, when you finish work and things like that, you come home from work and you stick on Quantum Break or Final Fantasy 16, you know you're going to play a good hour or two and hit story beats and just know that you're going to make progress. Where I think open world games, for me personally, they kind of lose that, because you can get lost in an open world game for hours on end. So that's why Final Fantasy 16 is over Tears of the Kingdom for me personally. And then with Starfield, I remember seeing a lot of stills for Starfield, and I really wasn't impressed. I just thought it looked very No Man's Sky. It looked like a kind of more serious No Man's Sky, and I just thought that looked boring as hell. But I've since seen gameplay of it, and like my impressions of Starfield have greatly went up. I think it looks fantastic. I really do think it looks good. But again, I don't think it's going to be a game for me. I think it's going to be too big. I think what I've seen of it, I think will be what I've seen of the kind of combat, I think will just be small portions of the game, and then larger portions of the game is just going to be like No Man's Sky, like just empty, desolate kind of places that just wouldn't interest me. But anyway, that's my thoughts on Final Fantasy 16. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's a game that you have to play. Even if you don't want to, I'm trying to think what to say it. Like, it's a game that you have to experience, especially this year, as a new release. The story is phenomenal. I remember when I was playing, I played the demo obviously before I got this, and the demo absolutely knocked my socks off. I bloody loved it. It was so good. It was heartbreaking. It was so cool, man. And yeah, as soon as the demo finished, I was like, I need to get this, I need to get it. And it came out just after Father's Day, so I had to wait until it came out on Father's Day. And my son kindly bought it for me via his mum's purse. But I bloody loved it. And going back to going back to kind of like the kind of changes of the kind of battle systems and things like that. Like, and this is just a very personal take. For me, my first introduction to Final Fantasy was Final Fantasy VII. Loved it, probably is my favourite Final Fantasy, to be honest. But then from Final Fantasy 7 to 8 to 9 to 10, I just felt that they were all so similar, and you were always looking for that next Final Fantasy 7 hit, next Final Fantasy 7 kick, and you just never got it. You never really got it. So for me with Final Fantasy 16, I think that as I've grown up and as I've matured, I think Final Fantasy has grown up and matured as well. With Final Fantasy 15, that had a really nice open world, but there was something that wasn't very cohesive. It was good. I really liked Final Fantasy 15, but I just think they've nailed it with Final Fantasy 16. I think they've nailed everything: music, characters, storyline, combat. It never lets up. It just keeps you going. It keeps you in the game. I absolutely loved it. I remember, and this is another little point, when I was whatever age I was back when I was playing Final Fantasy 7, I always remember like summoning like Ifrit. So you'd summon Ifrit, and I remember sitting there in my pal's bedroom playing it on a little trolley, little portable TV, and we just sit there thinking, wouldn't it be so fucking cool if you could control Ifrit and you had a little move set and you just smashed enemies and things like that. It would just be so cool. And then lo and behold, however many years later with Final Fantasy 16, you're controlling a big badass icon, summon, eidolon, whatever icons in this game. Absolutely sensational. And those battles play out. They play out pretty much like a kind of, maybe like a God of War or a Bayonetta kind of boss fight, where it's all very, very blockbuster. It's all very swooping cameras, zooming cameras. There's QTEs in there as well for when you get to like certain points in the fights. You have to connect with the bad guys and things like that, the big bosses. The boss fights are just different class. They're so good. The whole game is excellent. It's a 10 out of 10 game in my opinion, and for me it's my game of the year, 100%. And that's all I've got to say about it. Final Fantasy 16, game of the year. Go out and buy it, give it a go. It's fantastic, brilliant game. Cheers.